Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today it is yet again time for one of those videos. This is a 5 cards video. Today we're out of extra deck mechanics. We've gone through Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, and Link monsters, going through and giving you 5 cards that I believe haven't been recently and will be eventually, like, in the metagame again. They will be meta. And now we need to look at rituals. Rituals are kind of particular. They kind of fall, I would argue, closer to Fusion, but there actually are some really interesting ritual cards, especially since rituals have so many powerful cards around them, whether it's generic search spells for them, whether it's engines like Drytron, right, that kind of just facilitate insane, ritual, plays generically. Or whatever, there's a handful of stuff. So today we're looking at specifically ritual monsters that I believe have a really good chance at being meta in the future. I'm going to leave out some of the most obvious ones, like obviously Cyber Angel, Ben 10. I don't even need to mention that. Illusion of Chaos, there will be a meta deck where Magician's Souls is played, but that card's not even really being utilized as a ritual monster. It's just being used as a Souls searcher and consistency piece, so I don't even fully count that. I mean, it's still a cool card, but for our purposes, that's so obvious. So I've got 5 options here. Let's get into it. This is a weird one, definitely the weirdest of the bunch, because it's not an extract mechanic. It is very particular to the types of decks that can even play this, because just ritual decks are fewer and far between, but there's still some cool ones on here. Honestly, when I went through the list, I actually found some pretty spicy little gems. So, starting us off here is number 5 on the list, Megalith Full. Going through the list, I definitely ended up seeing Megaliths, and I was like, I have to put Megaliths on this list. They're too good, and honestly, the best one is hands down Full. This card's crazy. It's only a level 2, so it is very easy to facilitate its own ritual summon. And when it's ritual summon, it adds back any Megalith monster in grave back to hand, which is quite good. Or actually, it targets any ritual monster, which is even better. And then it pretty much gives you the ability to quick ritual summon on the opponent's turn. It also modifies its level when it adds something back from grave, so it can even make itself a higher level to pretty much facilitate your tribute cost for the ritual summon. Insanely good, and it ritual summons a Megalith straight from the deck. Megaliths already have access to Bethor, so just being able to quick summon Bethor and wipe your opponent's board is insanely crazy. There's even an argument right now where if you were going to play Drytron, which is a respectable rogue deck even now, Megaliths would be the way to go, the optimal variant, whatever. A lot of people would argue that that's the best way to play the deck. This engine is crazy. You have to give respect to Megaliths. They don't even require you to have a spell to play, and it allows you to pretty much have a side engine in your deck that can get you to a little extra oomph on top of whatever your deck already does. So Megaliths are crazy. I like them a lot. They're one of my personal favorite ritual archetypes, but yeah, Full is definitely the best of the bunch. Moving on to number 4 here, we've got Magician of Black Chaos Max. Love the artwork on this guy, by the way. He looks amazing. But long story short, here's what we're looking at. This guy says, if this card is special summoned, period, you contribute a monster, and then your opponent cannot activate monster effects this turn. Period. For the entire turn, no monster effects whatsoever. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! 2022. There are very few decks that don't need monster effects at all. They all need them. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, target a spell in your graveyard, add it to your hand. That's just icing on the cake. If you can also get, clear something in the battle phase, cool. You also get a free spell back. That's fine. The main effect is that first one. And long story short, this card just becomes like a floodgate card. If you can set up any strategy that can do a generic ritual summon on the opponent's turn into something like Black Chaos Max, this card just locks your opponent out of monster effects and usually just causes a straight up pass turn. And that's the goal. We haven't seen it in a while. I know this was played in a couple of were they Drytron Megalith builds or just Megalith builds? I'm honestly not even sure. But I know this was a win condition in a pretty respectable ritual deck. I just don't know if I would have called that at the time straight up meta. It's kind of hard for me to remember exactly where that variant landed, but it was respectable. People were scared of it for sure. No monster effects is terrifying, so you have to respect this card. I do believe its generic usability will come up down the line. We'll see a ritual deck that can just do this super easily and set it up turn 1, and you just need this with like 1, maybe 2 other interactions, and that's all you need in most duels, to be honest. And then the ability to OTK on your next turn. It's really all you need. So really, really terrifying card. We know how good Floodgate effects are, but these ones are even better because they're so hard to interact with. It's not just while he's on the field. It is just once this effect resolves, your opponent is now just indefinitely locked for the turn. Dweller-esque kind of Floodgate effect, where once it resolves, it's there, and it makes it way harder to interact with the card. So very, very problematic. Moving on to number 3, Saravis, the Ancient and Ascended. Honestly, I don't care about summoning this card at all because of its main effect. Actually says when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a monster you control, quick effect to discard this card, negate the activation. Also, when he's on the field, he's still not bad. When your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, quick effect, you can return this card to the hand to negate that summon. And if you do banish that monster, even that is actually quite good because you're negating a summon, not even like a monster effect, which means it's kind of can keep people from even getting to certain like areas where they can kind of resolve something. And it bounces itself back to the hand, which is very resource efficient, just loads itself back to then maybe even use its other effect in hand. Really, really cool card. I would not be surprised if we see not only this be played generically for certain specific meta matchups, even as like a generic card, but also maybe even in a ritual deck where super, super generic, you're able to like search, rituals super, super easy. So this card becomes like a super easy searchable piece, but also easy to get on the field. So then he's got the interruption and then the protection after that is honestly really, really cool. So I just think this is generically a really good card. Could see generic play in the future, and also just like it could be even more insane in an actual like open-ended ritual deck as well. I do think this card's really quite cool. Stats are huge. Level 7's a really solid level. I think 6 is probably the best level you're looking for rituals, but or maybe not best level, I would say, but well, maybe it is, because like if you have a ritual that's too low level, it means it's not counting for too much of a tribute. But if it's too high a level, then getting it out is a little bit harder. So I think 7 is pretty decent. I think 6 is probably the sweet spot, but being low is not necessarily bad either. Moving on to number 2, we've got White Knight of Dogmatica. Really, really cool card. I've seen a couple of like pure Dogmatica variants that play this card. It does do some pretty cool stuff, but yeah, this card's pretty sweet. It's level 8. You cannot special summon from the extra deck while you have it on the field. Keep that in mind. If your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. And if you do, look at your opponent's extra deck and send one monster from theirs to the graveyard. And this card gains attack equal to half the combined attack of those monsters sent to the graveyard until the end phase. Really, really cool card. It gives you a send from extra deck, and you get to send something from your opponents. Really quite cool. This is just every turn, by the way. So while this stays on the field, every time your opponent activates a monster effect, which we kind of just talked about it with the Black Chaos Max, your opponent has to activate monster effects to play in almost every matchup, aside from like, I don't know, Runic. But even there are situations where Runic needs monster effects, or Mystic Mine. But White Knights, clearly insane, big booty. It's hard to like get something like this off the field without ever activating a monster effect. And if you let this resolve like once, twice, 3 times in a duel, you're probably just out of that duel because your opponent's plussing on the send they do, and then you're also like getting your extra deck ripped apart, taking crucial cards at times. Maybe if it's a grind match and you're playing sprites, you start taking elves as soon as possible, so they just run out of elves really quickly. You take Zeus package cards, so they just can't even go into that as an option. Take advantage of that stuff. Really, really cool card though, nonetheless. I like it a lot, and yeah, just really solid. And also, one other thing that is interesting is I also think the possibility that you have to also include here is just playing the Dogmatica package in your ritual deck anyway. We have Herald of the Arclight, and so being able to just play like Nadir's Servant, which gets you like Ecclesia, which then gets you like this card potentially, and you also sent something from extra deck, which could be your Arclight, which searches you this card or a ritual, whatever it is. I do think that package is actually quite nice for ritual decks. The only downside of it is, Usually you're not going into the extra deck super easy and quick early on in ritual decks. And so extending the Ecclesia out on the field is a little bad, but if you play a ritual deck that doesn't have a necessary normal summon, then the Dogmatica stuff becomes really, really potent, I believe. So really, really cool stuff. Definitely really interesting. Definitely something to keep in mind, for sure. And that brings us to the last one. You guys know how we've been doing it here. We've been going, and I've been giving you something that actually hasn't even been revealed, or not revealed, but released yet in the TCG, something that's coming up that I believe could be part of a meta deck down the line. I'm going to throw Mikanko of the Ohime at you here. Mikanko is a new ritual/equip spell-based archetype coming in the next deck build pack. We'll see if we actually get it, or I think we'll get it. I don't know if we have it officially announced or not, but whatever. It comes with Rescue Ace and the Peroris. Interesting pack. But this one seems like it has the most meta relevancy out the gate, and this card is a big part of that. So this is a level 6 Fairy Ritual Light monster. 0 attack, 0 defense. You can ritual summon this card with Mikanko Kagura. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage you take from its battles instead. That's why it's 0/0. You can attack into their stuff and they take the damage for it, which is awesome. And then you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can reveal this card in your hand to add a Mikanko card from your deck to the hand, except for Ohime, then discard 1 card. What I love with this is that you just reveal this card, and then it takes a generic discard, and it happens after. So this card essentially could be a Foolish Burial for any Mikanko card as well, because you add the Mikanko card first, then you could send it if you want. Or you could send this if you want, if you don't really feel like you need it. Or it just means if you play more bricks in your deck, this gives you an outlet to get bricks out of your hand. This gives you a way to, play dangers and discard a danger, and then also get a danger effect to trigger. Like, really, really cool synergy with this, the way this effect resolves. And it's quite nice. It's not even a -1. It's just a 1-for-1, but it adds consistency and gives you a discard outlet at the same time. Really cool. And the other effect is a quick effect. You can target any equipped spell in your graveyard and equip it to an appropriate monster on the field. That's more so specific to the Mikanko stuff. That could absolutely still come up. I would assume it would if you're playing this card at all, but they have one that I believe, while it's equipped to your monster, kind of just makes it like an impermanence. I think. Don't quote me on that. I think there's like 1 or 2 of them that are interesting, like interruptive cards when they're equipped. There's also one that like summons another Mikanko monster straight out of the deck. So just being able to get, like, search that, send that, and if you can get this on field, you're just equipping it, you're summoning another monster from deck, you're getting more resources. It's really good. Honestly, I really do think this could be a ritual package that's played in not even ritual decks, but even ritual decks as well. We've already seen what are they called? The Doom Broker. What's that archetype called? Oh, Libromancer. Like, maybe this could be an engine with a Libromancer deck. Maybe it can be an engine with Ice Soul decks because they use equip spells. I really do feel like this package works out really nicely. It's not that bricky at all. A lot of the equip spells are actually extenders in and of theirself, which is really cool. I think it's really solid. So yeah, there we go. Those are my 5. We've got the Mikanko. We've got the White Knight of Dogmatica, Saravis, the Ancient and Ascended, Magician of Black Chaos Max, and of course, Megalith full. Guys, let me know your thoughts down below. I'm not a huge ritual player, but just based on what I know about these cards and like generically what they do and what they could bring to the table as far as being a splashable engine, I believe these are 5 that would make a lot of sense for eventually being back in the metagame down the line. But I want to know your guys' thoughts. I know there's definitely some other ones, so feel free to throw them down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and just on this list in general. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Peace.